Good evening, everyone, and thank you for your patience as we work through our technology challenges. It's great when it works, and sometimes it doesn't. I apologize for my voice tonight, sinus time. So welcome to the January 18th meeting of the Dover Area School District Board of Directors. If we would please start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Benko, could we have the roll call, please?
Mrs. Britton?
Here.
Mr. Cook?
Here.
Mr. Deschaux?
Here.
Mr. DeLauder?
Here.
Mr. Eifert?
Here.
Mr. Emick? Mrs. Herman?
Here.
Mrs. Maley?
Here.
Mr. Rawhauser?
Here.
8 members present.
Thank you. Mrs. Krim, presentations and celebrations.
Dr. Maloney, would you come up, please? This month, January, is Board of Directors Appreciation Month. So in honor of this month, we have a certificate for you, but I'd like to say a few words to the audience and to our board members. A quality public education is a key that can open doors of opportunity for many students. Providing that education takes a team of committed people, from educators and staff to parents and administrators. The 9 members of your local school board are an important part of this team, making informed decisions that direct the course of our public schools. Every January, we take time to celebrate and recognize the challenging and vital work they do on behalf of our students, families, and community. School directors volunteer an average of 20 hours each month to board work, which includes adopting policy, voting on budgets, approving curriculum changes, choosing textbook, and reviewing hiring decisions, just to name a few. They take time to learn about the issues affecting public education and to seek innovative solutions. As unpaid, locally elected officials, school directors are invested in their communities. They are your neighbors, they are your friends, they're local leaders, parents, and engaged senior citizens. During this month of recognition, please take a moment and show your gratitude for your school director's time, dedication, and effort year-round. The job they do is necessary to ensure all schools remain a pathway to a promising future. Thank them for advocating on behalf of our collective interest and, most importantly, for making the success of our children their priority. So we have a certificate for them, and I'd like to ask for a round of applause for our school board members. So while Dr. Maloney's passing that out, that's the official statement. I can't say enough for how supportive your school directors are. And I think very often people don't realize this is an unpaid position. We ask them to come out 2 nights a month just for our scheduled meetings. And that does not include the other meetings that we have to call for policy and for many other decisions of things going on in the district. So again, I would urge you to thank them. They have to make many, many tough decisions, and they always do it in the best interest of our students. And we take them away from their families, their friends, to spend time with us, and we do greatly appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Krim.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, I believe we have representatives from Crabtree Rohrborough and Associates with us tonight.
Good evening. I think we wanted to take this opportunity. We have a couple of business things to take care of with the reimbursement process, reviewing the Parts D and E documents from PlanCon, but we also wanted to take an opportunity to kind of see if there were any questions from the Act 34 hearing. You can kind of go to the next slide there. So we're going to kind of field any questions from the board from the Act 34 hearing. We're also going to talk about just a couple of things we heard there. Want to clarify a few items. We are waiting for the official transcript to come back, so once that does come back, then we'll formalize responses to all the questions we weren't able to answer. Then we'll go through the Part D and E. During this, we have a 30-day waiting period where you can take no action on the project while past the Act 34 hearing, while the public has additional opportunity for written comment. So once that happens, that'll end, I believe, February 8th. then you'll be able to move forward and vote on the Part D and E applications that we'll give an overview of tonight. And then part of one of the applications does do with exterior elevations, so we just want to show some concepts of what we're dealing with, what we're looking at for the exterior of the building. So first, on the Act 34, I think one of the things we heard a lot that the night of the Act 34 was project needs, so I think we wanted to revisit that a little bit and focus on that. Really the project need deals with educational program. There is some enrollment issues in there, but the enrollment helps kind of define how big the building is and not necessarily the need for the building. Regardless of the enrollment, you'll definitely have the project need. It also addresses the facility infrastructure not only of the high school, but also, more importantly, the intermediate school. The intermediate school is kind of like the one of your schools that's in the worst conditions. So if you recall, when we looked at the 20 or so options a while back, we kind of narrowed it. We always wanted to have that, how is the intermediate school affected with each one of those options. So the option that you did move forward with actually does address both the high school and the intermediate school all at the same time, because you get to move the intermediate school kids over to the high school, which has more than enough capacity to handle them. And it allows you to, if you choose to, move 6th grade to the intermediate school, which if you do get into any enrollment issues at the elementary school, allows you an easy, cost-effective way to handle those. That's an option that's always there. And then, so those were just some of the highlights of the project need. We did hear a lot of this discussion on that, so I wanted to re-emphasize some of those. But does any of the board have any questions about the process of the Act 34 or any of the comments you heard or anything in general? Okay. And like I said, we will. Go ahead.
I have a question regarding a comment that was made in terms of including people in the discussion part of it, particular the township, the involvement of, in the process. It seemed as though there were some there that seemed to be caught by surprise by what we're doing, and I was a little surprised at that. I was curious if you could address that.
So, as you're well aware, you've been talking about this for 4 or 5 years back to the study, and well before that. But throughout the process, I think the school district's been very transparent with everything and forthcoming. There's been countless public meetings on it. We have been meeting with Township. Actually, we had a meeting with Township this morning as part of the land development process. We'll continue to have meetings with the Township. We involved the borough early on in a kind of introductory meeting when we started, when we knew a little bit more about what we were doing with the high school. We had a meeting with both municipalities, so there have been meetings with both agencies, and also we've been involving the public that the administration has appointed to the steering committee. We've had back to school night presentations. We've had a lot of ways to engage it. You're always, unless you actually knock door to door, you're never gonna, you do what you can to try to involve as many people. I think the district's done a good job in doing that. It's just some people, you're not always gonna get to every one of them. Oh, and real quick, you made me think of one other thing. So I think there were some comments on, the school as a community center. None of the spaces that we're designing in the school are specifically for the community. Every space within the school is for the students and for the educational program. I think it just so happened it was a goal of the board and the administration to just say, hey, we have these facilities for our students, but we'll open them up to the public. So I think there was a comment that we're putting a lot of community spaces in here that we don't need, but they're all the spaces that are in the school were part of the educational program. Any other thoughts? Okay, so when we get the transcript, we'll look to kind of respond and comment to all the rest of the public comment from that meeting.
Okay, so moving on to PlanCon Part D and E. Part D, these are drafts you have before you. PlanCon Part D consists of the cost estimates. This is the information that we use to prepare the Act 34 booklet. They are our estimates. There were questions at the hearing about projects being bid, and this is an estimate. We use the experience of other projects that we are working on and bid to help formulate these numbers. Part D also establishes that Act 34 maximum building construction cost, which was a key feature of the booklet as well. Part E is the design development. As we are moving through the PlanCom process, design development is where we are having our one-on-one meetings with department heads, staff, administrators, actually looking into each of the interior spaces. And you can see the list of the layouts of spaces on the cover sheet of PlanCon Part E that demonstrates we've completed the interior fit-out equipment, loose equipment, some finishes and so forth. It's just the next progression of the project. Again, as Scott mentioned, the board's not permitted to take action on this for a 30-day period from the hearing, so this will be a February action. When you act on this as a board, again, these are simply applications that go to the Department of Education that signify you've completed the next step. PlanCon D would consist of the hearing transcript, proof of publication, any written comment. That all goes into the state. And then PlanCon E, when the board approves it, will trigger a review meeting with the plan examiner at the Department of Education for the architects, the district, and the plan examiner to review the design development. So that's pretty much what these applications permit you to move through that process of pursuing reimbursement.
And as John mentioned, as part of that, we're not going to go through these in detail. I think you've all seen these before, but we'll be submitting the design development site plan. You can go to the next slide. And the floor plans, which consists of the first floor and the second floor. And one thing we wanted to kind of spend a little bit of time on, which we haven't talked about yet, we've been focused on the more of the form of the building, but the function of the building, but would be what the exterior design looks like. So you can go to the next slide. So this kind of gives you an over bird's eye perspective of the high school. Here's the student parking lot with the parent loop, drop-off loop. This is the bus loop with the faculty parking lot. Intermediate Ave is kind of off the screen over here. You can kind of see North Salem off in the distance. You can kind of get a feel for the massing and the size of the building. Exterior materials are primarily going to be masonry, brick construction. Looking at two different shades right now, two different colors to spruce it up, but that's a cost-effective way to design the building. You can see here, this is the kind of peninsula between the two, and this is an entry element that we're developing. You can go to the next slide. This would be a view coming down off of Intermediate Ave, looking at the school. The glass you see up here is the ILC, bringing a lot of natural light into there. And here is that main central entrance that everybody will be using. The administration is down here. This is the two-story classroom wing over here. You can see we're bringing a lot of natural light into some of those collaboration areas that we have that are the flexible learning environments. Go to one more slide. So this is just another view of that entrance. This will be kind of a welcome, open, inviting plaza area where kids can gather before and after school, or kind of acts as a promenade to that entrance there. But just we wanted to at least give you a feel before we get too far along with what we're looking at for the exterior design concepts. And certainly if you have any comments now or later, let us know.
Again, just as the design development phase continues, as Scott's alluding to, there'll be further development. We'll have more renderings. There'll be more discussion. We'll start to bring some of the interior spaces and modeling, so when you can see that entry space as you enter the building, its height, its volume, daylighting, materials, and so forth. So we'll start really zooming in on this and discussing it further as we move forward, give you and the public a better idea of the building, its materials, size, scale, and character, if you will.
I just have a real quick question. Sorry, Mr. Cook. In that large common area outside the auditorium cafeteria area, well, when you have an open two-story object, or what you can call it, is that a cost effective? Does it cost more or less to build that two-story open space?
Than it would be.
Than maybe
Actually,
put
if you
two
go back
floors.
2 slides, Jen, we actually are taking that area and you can see here we're stepping it down. So we're actually not building the whole volume 2 stories. We're actually more of a story and a half. And we don't want to really pancake it down to one story because, and especially the cafeteria, the noise in there would just be too loud and too reverberating. So we were conscious of the cost and didn't want to build too high of a volume space, but appropriate volume for the acoustics of the space. So good comment, but yeah, those kind of things were taken into consideration.
Question for you on the timing issue in relation to PlanCon. I know early on there was some discussion about when we would actually have to break ground.
Yes.
Refresh my memory, if you would, what that timing would look like.
So the target for breaking ground is July of this summer. We're looking to go out to bid in April. That's considering if we have all of our approvals from the township. And a project of this size, of course, in a project of this nature being a school, you're always working around the school year, the calendar year. You can see here, this is the footprint of the existing intermediate school. That last summer is going to be the kind of, a lot's going on. You need a full last summer in order to finish a project. You can't really finish it in December or any other time of year because you essentially have to have time to move all your teachers and all the things from the intermediate school over to high school. So that kind of dictates when you can finish. In a project of this size, you're going to need approximately 2 years to construct. So, looking to start in summer of 2018, complete in the summer of 2020. So anytime, if there's any bumps in the road or we get off that schedule, we have a slight window, but really you need that first summer of construction also because that's when you'll be doing a lot of your earthwork, a lot of your foundations. Once that first winter hits, you're going to basically not be able to do a lot of your concrete work. And if that happens, if you don't start construction until the fall, then you're probably going to have to push the end date a whole nother year, which could have major implications on cost escalation. So.
In terms, though, specifically for PlanCon potential reimbursement,
Yes.
Is there a time frame that ground has to be broken by or the project has to be completed by?
The contract execution.
There are certain steps along the way for PlanCon, and each step, like as John mentioned, kind of E is the design development. You'll have F is construction documents. Part G is when you accept bids. There's certain time frames that when you have those documents, they have certain rules in place. Like you can't accept bids until Part F is approved. But other than that, they basically work around your schedule, and we have it timed out in a way that basically sets it up to achieve that July date.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, Mr. Ken Phillips from RBC.
Good evening. Good evening. It's good to be here. Sort of as a follow-up to what John and Scott just did, I had a chance to talk with the administration a little bit about the Act 34 hearing, some of the things that we discuss in terms of a financial structure of how you potentially could go about affording this project. We have spent the last 2+ years, I guess, looking at various different options. And one of the things I started out with the Act 34 was to ask the question about Act 1. How many people understood Act 1? Because when you take a look at how school districts need to finance projects since Act 1, 11 years, whatever it is ago now, it pretty much is the structure that you are looking at and all your peers look at right now in terms of utilizing existing debt as it may fall off, and then using those dollars that are in place in the budget for the new debt service. It's called a wraparound structure. We actually did a study about 4 months ago for another client who had the exact same questions during their Act 34 hearing. How many schools use this type of financing structure versus, say, a level debt structure? 75% of every financing done, and we looked at 491 financing since 7 years ago up at the state, 141 different school districts. 75% of all issues for new projects and also then refundings are done on a wraparound structure. Because when you are given an index under Act 1, you only have so many dollars that you can throw at debt service because you have other things that you need to fund in the budget. Ironically, you have 4 issues outstanding now, Dover does, 4 outstanding debt issues. 3 of them are wraparound and 1's level debt. So you're right on, par with the rest of the other school districts in the Commonwealth. The one thing that I was able to share with the Finance Committee, and I've been doing this 37 years, okay? So I've seen all types of Act 34 hearings. It was a very standard hearing. You had people who were obviously afraid of the cost, and rightfully so. No one likes to be in debt, but we all are. The one thing I said, if I was a board member, I'd be looking at the administration, and I'd be saying, can we afford to do this? Educationally, can we afford to do it? Is it something we should do educationally from a facility standpoint? But more importantly, can we fit this type of increase in debt service in our annual operating cost? And if the answer is yes, that we need to do it educationally and that we can make it work on a financial basis, then that's something that, if I'm a board member, I'm probably going to say, okay, in my 37 years of experience of looking at these type of projects, I would say then let's go ahead and do it, okay? On the other hand, if the administration comes back and says, no, I don't think we can afford it, or maybe we need to look at a different structure or different project, then I think you go to your architects and you say, you know what, this is great, it looks great, but I'm not sure we can do that. But I think we've spent enough time the last 2 years giving you various different options because you have seen the structures and you've seen what the annual increases are going to be from a debt standpoint, roughly 0.25, 0.27 mils based on the assumptions that we're using on a $65 million project. You have put aside money to help phase these mills in. Okay, we're using $6 million or so, which is not many school districts have the luxury to do that. So I have to commend this board, previous boards, previous administrations, this administration, for basically trying to get yourself geared up to do something and to make that monumental decision, okay? So those were some of the takeaways from the Act 34 hearing. None of the questions surprised me, okay? We sort of seen them all. And in terms of understanding how to finance any type of, whether it's operations or whether it's debt service or salaries or anything else under Act 1 is a challenge. And I do have to think that this district has done a good job the last 10 years of meeting that challenge. And now you're at a point where you have a facility that, you may need to improve. And given the fact that you have spent a lot of time the last 2+ years of studying the financial implications of that, okay, I think, things that were explained to the public during the hearing, the fact that you're doing the same thing that other districts who are facing the same type of projects are doing, you're fiscally doing the right thing. Questions? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, next on our agenda is our report from our student representative. Sarah.
Okay, so from Dover Elementary School, they completed the second round of MAP benchmark testing. The teachers were very productive discussions on Thursday of last week and are looking at ways to improve classroom instruction based on student results and areas of growth. Glow dancing, magic, and movies, and a snack will be offered as our second marking period PBIS reward. Students will celebrate their behavioral accomplishments on January 19th. Our Soaring Eagle breakfast will be provided from our outstanding students on January 26th. Also, on January 26th, the PTO will be hosting a swim party at the Dover Area Intermediate School. For those of you that are missing summer, put on your suit and join us from 6:30 to 8:30. On February 14th, there will be a Dover Elementary breakfast with a sweetheart. Dover students may invite one parent or grandparent to join them for breakfast in the cafeteria. PTO will be providing the breakfast and our teachers are volunteering to help serve. From Live Elementary School, there is York County Literacy Council provided a book assembly on Wednesday, January 10th, the PTO Dine Out Night at Chipotle on January 10th, and a Proud/PBIS reward celebration on January 31st. Report cards will be distributed on Thursday, January 18th. From North Salem Elementary School, on February 7th, they will be hosting its second Multicultural and Diversity Fair. Everyone from the community is welcome to attend. There will be outside performance groups, food trucks, and many awesome activities and projects that our students have worked on, so take a vacation night and come out to have a worldly experience. On Friday, January 19th, our students will be receiving their second marking period PBIS reward. All students who have met the requirements will be entertained by a laser show assembly in the afternoon. The North Salem PTO will also be hosting a polar bear swim on Friday, January 19th at the Dover Intermediate School for our students. From Weigelstown Elementary School, the York County Literacy Council provided a book-a-book assembly at Weigelstown on Tuesday, January 16th. The book-a-book reading program will be explained and our students will be educated regarding adult illiteracy in York County. The assembly will also include an interesting presentation from Brown's Orchard regarding a life of a honeybee. On January 26th, Weigelstown students will be celebrating proud behaviors by attending a Minute to Win It and Soaring Eagle assembly. From the Dover Area Intermediate School, the students participated in the Math Counts competition at York College on January 9th. Approximately 180 students in York County participated in the competition. Christian Paula's 8th grader has the 9th highest score, placing him in the top 25%. Ryan Baldwin and Brody Fulton, 7th graders, placed just above 33%. The Math Counts team's next competition will be late in February at Millersville College. The Millersville team will be comprised of the following: Christian Paulez, Ryan Baldwin, Brody Fulton, and Adam Albin. The lead National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, the staff and students prepared a waffle breakfast with all the trimmings for the police officers of Northern Regional and surrounding municipalities in appreciation for all they do in the communities they serve. Although the event was held on a late opening day, many officers enjoyed the delicious breakfast. Hoops for Hearts. The dodgeball tournament was taking place during days E and F as a part of the fundraising for the American Heart Association. The winner of the student tournament will challenge the teacher team on February 14th. The Spirit Assembly was a Winter Spirit Assembly will be held to recognize winter sports teams, musical groups, and second quarter academic achievement. Academic Excellence Award Night will be held Wednesday, January 31st at 7 p.m. Students will be honored at this evening event who have achieved honor roll status for the first and second quarter and who earned the status of Soaring Eagle. From the Dover Area High School, the high school held cookies and cocoa prior to winter break. This event was a PBIS reward for students. In order to attend, students had to have no referrals and grades above 75%. Additionally, Proud Passes have been implemented and distributed to students who met requirements for the first quarter. Emily Eckerd, a senior at Dover Area High School, received the Best in Show award at the 2018 Farm Show for her quilt. Max Petro, Wyatt Hoffman, and Haley Schweitzer received their Keystone degrees at the 2018 Farm Show. The Keystone degree is the highest honor an FFA member can receive in Pennsylvania. The 10th grade STEM Summit will be held on February 8th. Mr. Bradshaw was named the 2018 recipient of the PMEA District 7 Citation of Excellence. He will be recognized at the PMEA annual conference in April. And last, the competitive cheer team will be competing at state championships this weekend at the Giant Center. Their preliminary performance will be held at 7:36 p.m. tomorrow night.
Thank you. Any questions from our board members tonight? Okay. Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay or head out. Okay. Next on our agenda is our public comment period. I just wanted to remind you of the policy. This is a 3-minute period up to a total of 30 minutes for public comment for items on or off of the agenda. In order to speak, you must be a taxpayer of the district, a resident of the district, and you must be 18 years of age or older. If you do intend to speak and you're not 18, because I see we have a lot of students here tonight, you do have to have a parent or guardian accompany you to the microphones to give permission to speak in public. So with that, we will begin our first session of public comment. There is a sign-in sheet, so to help with the process, we ask that you sign your name and print your address on there so that we have that for the public record in the end. So if there's anybody that would like to speak, please come to the microphones and sign in. And also state your name for the record. Someone may go ahead and start speaking at this point.
Hi, good evening. My name is Aurelia Coley. I'm a parent here in the district. My daughter Gabrielle plays basketball. As you can see, there's a lot of different faces here from out of the county, and we're all representing and here to have a say in what happens to our varsity basketball coach. He was suspended at the beginning of our season. Many of our parents are not happy about how it was handled through the district, and it basically, we feel it was uncalled for. The agenda has some slots for some movement in coaching positions. We're here to question not so much whether the acting varsity coach should be getting paid, because we feel he should, but where does that leave the varsity coach? Because we feel within the next 24 to 48 hours, he will be exonerated, and his suspension should be immediately lifted, and he should be able to return to his job. And now if you all decide to pay somebody else for the rest of the season, to me that looks like you're firing him. And we'd like to question why and if in fact that's going to happen. And the people that are here to show support. The allegations that are against him are unfounded, and all the young ladies that you see here are here to support the fact that they are unfounded, and they are here to support. And I have some things that were written that can be read. One of them is from a coach that has coached with him, and it says, "My daughter has played AAU basketball for Coach Glover the past 3 years, and I coached with him for 2 years. Coach Glover has been one of the hardest working, most professional, honest, and successful coaches that I have known in the 30-plus years of my involvement in the sport. As someone who is recruited by and played for a college basketball Hall of Fame coach, I know from experience how an exceptional coach thinks, teaches, relates, and guides. Coach Glover is an exceptional coach, but he is much more. He relates to the girls and his coaching staff by listening, by teaching, and by caring. He cares immensely for his players and the program he represents. His demeanor is always professional. His peers in the AAU circuit respect him in large part because he works so hard to bring success to the young lives he is trying to help. And that is not just about basketball. Coach Glover talks about life outside of basketball, things like being a good friend, good teammate, doing what is right all the time. Respecting your family, teachers, and peers are all just as important to Coach Glover as wins and losses. The list goes on. Working as a coach side by side with him for 2+ years, I really appreciate his honest, hardworking personality. I love watching his players interact with him. There is so much respect from him to his players and vice versa. And if there is disrespect, he will address it. He communicates well with his players. There is no disconnect with them. He expects players to listen to him, work hard, and do the right thing. For so many reasons, not the least of which is his 100% innocent, we support Coach Kevin Glover. Our 15-year-old daughter deserves to see her AAU coach and her AAU teammate be treated fairly. He deserves his team to be cleared so he can his name to be cleared so he can return to what he loves, changing the lives of our youth." And that was written by Missy Glover.
I need
Then we have another.
I need you to wrap it up. Your 3 minutes are finished.
Read what Kara has to say.
Well, I had, can
I'd
we
like
like
to
to
s-
ask questions? My name is Guy Coley. I'm
Okay, I just
also-
need to make one statement that on tonight's agenda, we do have Coach Tyler Smith in as transferring from volunteer coach to acting head coach. He has graciously agreed to serve in this capacity in the best interest of the students for now. At the end of December, he took on that role. This is simply a step for us to be able to compensate him for these duties at this time. We have to make that official. Regarding Coach Glover, he is still an active employee of the school district and is on a leave of absence at this time. Beyond that, the board cannot comment on anything that is related to a personnel matter. Personnel matters may not be discussed in public at public comment. Sorry.
So I guess my question was, and I don't know if I'm tiptoeing into what you're saying, my wife and I had the opportunity to meet with Superintendent Crum, and she had mentioned at that time that if the verdict came back, so to speak, or if these charges against Kevin were unfounded at that time, that it would be the school board's decision to whether or not Kevin would come back or not. So based on that information, my question to the board today was, what is the process once Kevin has been vindicated and the timing of the process? Can you address that?
No, we cannot. It's a personnel matter.
Well, since I still have time, as a father, my daughter plays on the Dover area basketball team. Many of the faces in this room today I've seen. We've gotten to really get to know Kevin Glover. As a matter of fact, my wife and I wrote a letter to Rich, the athletic director at Dover Area High School, recommending Kevin. So I feel like I have a vested interest in this situation, and I just want to let you know that I hope the board makes the right decision, because there are a lot of children and students counting on that right decision to be made. Okay? Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment?
I ain't gotta be afraid of them. It seems accusations, people lose their jobs or get suspended, so.
Can you state your name for the record?
My name is Raymond Fink. I live in the district, and this is my daughter, Raja Fink. First and foremost, I want to say this about Coach Kevin Glover, and I want to go on the record about this. Okay. Unfortunately, me and my wife had a situation where we lost a child that was abducted and killed, okay, while I was serving our country. Now, when I'm deployed and I'm doing what I'm doing, putting myself in harm's way for all of you people, okay? Coach Kevin is just as much a father to my children as I am. And I think it's a travesty and it's disgusting what's going on and what's taking place, especially the prejudice and racial comments that my children had to go through at this school district, being spit on, calling racial slurs, and nothing was done. I'm disgusted with all of you, okay? And I think all of you should lose your jobs, okay? That's how I personally feel, okay? And you want to clock my time, make sure I want to get my whole 3 minutes in, because I think you're totally disrespectful. All right, you're ashamed. You should be ashamed of yourselves for doing what you're doing to Kevin Glover. Okay, so if I accuse you of sexual or being a pedophile, then that means you should be suspended, right? So I can falsify a police report or say whatever I want to say. So you should be suspended, correct, sir? Ain't that how the policy works, yes or no? I'm asking you a question, Mr. President.
Personnel matters.
Excuse me?
I'm not going to discuss
I asked you
personnel
a
matters.
question, sir.
This is public
You're
comment.
dancing. Well,
It's
you're
not public question.
dancing around.
Mr. Fink, this is a public comment period.
And
If
I'm
you
making
have to
my-
say, there's not dialogue that's going to happen here. You can make your statement. And
Well, I'm
listen, and
okay.
the
Well,
board
you're
will
interrupting
listen.
my time, sir.
I understand that. Don't worry.
Okay, I got you. I understand.
Thank you.
All right. It's a travesty what's going on here. Okay? And the bigotry that's going on in this school district, it's got to stop. Okay? It's got to stop. Go ahead, Reza.
Well, I know that Coach Kevin has impacted like all of us here that are here right now, and I don't think it's really fair that you guys aren't really doing that much to help him out, from what I can see. But I just hope that you guys will make the right decision and bring our coach back, because he's impacted us so much. He's helped me get a scholarship for my future to better myself, and he's helping all these girls to better themselves. And you guys, let's go.
It's okay, sweetie. It's okay. You all right? It's all right. This is what you guys are doing to the kids, okay? Your decision to do what you're doing to Kevin is affecting the children, okay? And I also coach with Kevin. To this date, me and Kevin have gotten over 700 children into college. At-risk kids, it doesn't matter, okay? He also got my other child. We also got my other child in a scholarship. I think it's a travesty. And you know what? And it makes me sick to my stomach to see what this man is being put through. He can't even go to his own child's basketball game. Got escorted out of the game because he couldn't go to another school to sit and watch his kid play because of accusations. This is ridiculous. And the person that was so-called accused of the accusation and the student even told the individuals that he had no knowledge of this. And I thought in this country we had rights that you're proven guilty, but not guilty first, and then whatever the case may be. I'm really disgusted. I'm really, really disgusted. And I'm ashamed to say that I live in Dover, and I'm ashamed that my kids go to Dover High School. I hate it here. I just want you to know that because of this and because of the racial stuff that was done to my kids. And nothing was done to them students. Nothing. You people make me sick. You sit up there, you want to tell people they can't talk. You're going to put a time limit. You said we had 30 minutes. There's only 3 people talking. I earned the right to sit here, and I'm going to talk past 3 minutes, and you're not going to stop me. I took 7 bullets for this country, and I'm going to say what I got to say.
Mr. Fink, we have
Okay?
policies in place.
Well,
here
I
that
understand you
need
got
to follow.
policies. Well, I'm going to talk, sir.
No,
Okay?
your
I'm going
3
to talk,
minutes are
sir.
expired.
Well, I'm going to talk, sir.
Your 3 minutes are
Okay, I'm going to
expired,
talk, sir. I'm going
We're
to finish
ask you
saying what I
please
got to
leave.
say.
We're going to ask you to please leave the table.
What, because I'm telling the truth?
No, because your
Because
time
I'm telling
limit
the
is up.
truth?
Don't give them an
Because there's time limit is
No,
up.
no, I'm good, I'm good.
don't give
What's your
them
name,
anything.
sir?
My name?
Yes, sir.
My name is Benjamin Pratt, sir.
Okay, and who are you?
I'm the solicitor for the school district.
Okay, well, be a solicitor.
I am. I'm asking you to
Okay.
follow the policy that's in place.
I'm
and
following
your-
the policy,
Your
sir.
time limit is up. Thank you, sir,
You
for your
interrupted me.
comments.
You interrupted me.
Sir, your time
You
limit is up.
interrupted
Thank
me,
you so
sir.
much.
You interrupted me. See, this is what I'm talking about. All of you should be fired. Disgusting.
I just have a question. When I asked the board about speaking, and I'm going to direct it to you, being you're the solicitor, I was told that anybody could speak here, that it was a public. And then the president turns around because he sees how many people are here that are not from the district.
No, there's a policy that's in place which outlines the guidelines for individuals to
And all of the
speak.
directors and board members should know that policy, shouldn't they?
Yes, they should.
So then
But
if
it-
we were told by one of the board members that it was, anybody could speak because it's a public, and this is public comment, I'd like to know why the issue was brought up.
I do not know why that was stated, but the policy has been in place for years, and that is the guidelines that has been established for public speaking at this meeting.
It's very convenient. Because you know that we're all here for the one reason, is to support Kevin. And it's very convenient that we have to make sure that it's only district people. Because our basketball team is very small.
I understand, ma'am, but that's the guidelines that have been in place for public comment for these board meetings for years.
Mrs. Coley, I misspoke. When you asked that question earlier before the meeting, I misspoke. And I did say that I wasn't sure, 100% sure whether that was the case or not, if it had to be somebody in district or not. I believe that I did say to you that I was not sure. So I apologize for.
It's a public meeting, it should be, you know, nobody's here trying to do anything but speak in support of him. And to limit, because the people that he has touched is not just this little town of Dover. And the accusations that are coming at him aren't even coming from players. So you would think that you'd want to hear from the parents and the players that are exposed to him for much more time than the little bitty people that are here in Dover. But if we want to keep it and be small-minded and just say, no, only Dover people should say something, and only Dover people should have something to say in support of him, that's sad, because you're not looking at everything or all the information that you can gather. You're only looking at a tiny little piece of the puzzle, which is not a very nice piece of the puzzle, and not many people want to know anything else than what that little tiny snapshot is showing. And that's sad, because this is a huge decision and impacting, and the superintendent had told me that it really wasn't a big deal that's impacting a basketball season. Well, it is a big deal. It is a big deal to those 12 girls that go out every night and put their hearts on the line, despite what the newspapers are doing to their coach, what the newspapers are doing to them, what other students are saying to them, and you guys have no clue. None at all. And that you're gonna sit here and say, only Dover people can speak. It's sad. And you're not teaching the children that are here what life is really about. They're gonna walk away and say, really, it sucks, and this is why we don't go to meetings.
I'm Lisa Fink, Rachel's mother, and I have known Kevin for several years. He's an honest, beautiful, wonderful young man. He's so loving and kind that, I mean, I don't know what you see, what you're looking at from the outside to the inside in him, because this man don't discriminate for no race. You see the multi-ethnic pluralistic environment you see right there? That's his group right there. He loved people of all kind. This man would hurt a fly. For you guys to do this to him, you know, his kids can't even go to school because everybody thinks he doing something, you know, come on. You guys wake up. These girls play basketball every day for Dover. They put their heart into playing for Dover. What do you give them? Nothing. Y'all scream on the man. I know he have a boss in here. Why you don't fire his boss? How was he fired? For what? And I personally think racial discrimination. That's how I feel. And if you don't like what I say, too bad. But I'm going to say it because you say speak your mind, right? Public speaking. Racial discrimination. That man was fired because he was black. There's no other reason in here he was fired because he was black. But if there was a white man in place there, you would never fire him. You would go through all the rules and all around the circle before you fire him. And you just watch that man and let him go. And he has a family to take care of. He has to go home to his family. His family can't even go to school. The kids can't even go to school because y'all put something on him. Why? He did nothing but do the right thing for Dover kids. He pulled you all from where you all were before and bring you all up higher than you ever been. And that's what you're going to do to that man? Yeah. Look at his family. He has children. He has a mother, a father. Come on. You guys have children. You have a mother and father too. You don't want that to happen to you. Come on. Put yourself in his shoes. Don't even look at him as a black man. Just look at him as a man. Put yourself in his shoes. How the hell he would know what's going on when people talking on the phone? Do you know when your children talking on the phone what they doing? No, we don't. Because we don't mind our kids' business, right? He don't mind the kids' business on the team. He come to teach them basketball, and that's all he's there for. Why are we going to take this away from that man? He worked hard. He can't even work at his own job. He can't even teach it at Spooky Nook. Why? Because of you, Dover. Thank you, Dover. That's what you did to him. That's not right, because you have children. All you guys have children. Whether you gay, straight, I don't care. Well, we got to put our foot. This man only hired him. Why you hire him for? Tell me why you hired him.
They can't answer no question.
Okay. You can't answer the question because they don't want to. Why you hire Kevin? You didn't believe in him? You didn't believe in him? Come on. Think about that man, what he's going through. He can't even walk the street where he lived in York because of Dover. That's not right. Come on. The man can't even go to a restaurant and eat. People telling him, oh, you the one that you doing this and this, that to the kids? No, he hasn't done anything to any one of our children but put them where they're supposed to be. Some of them can't even play. And I ain't gonna tell you, I'm telling you right now. Some of them can't play. He put them into play. Okay? Some of the parents come here and they're mad because the child didn't get time to play on the team. Stop that crap. Your child can't play, they need to sit down. I will sit him down, but he don't, because he's too good in his heart. He too good in his heart. See, me, I wouldn't coach for none of y'all. I wouldn't. Because what you did to him, honey, I put y'all in the lowest group. Dover, I can't believe my kids play ball for you. All my kids play ball for you. And y'all do this to that man? I tell you, this man is like a, oh God, he's so sweet. He makes me mad when we go away on games. We go to Florida, we go to, everywhere we go, he's so nice to people, I feel like knocking him down sometimes. I said, why are you smiling with them people? Because you have to, Lisa, you smile with your enemies, okay? Okay, you gotta stand up for that man. You hired him, stand up for him. Because we all here standing up for him. You know how far these people come from? Lancaster, Columbia. Huh, let me tell you something. You ain't seen nothing yet. You all ain't seen nothing. You see the hurt all they put on that man? Dover, I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. Y'all ain't find nothing on the man. I'm sending people to my house. Whoever stupid-ass parents, excuse me, in here, sending people to my house.
Yeah, Mr. Solicitor.
I'm sick of it. I can't even sleep, knocking at my door.
CPS.
Mrs. Fink, thank you very much for your comments. Your time is up. We
Yeah,
appreciate your
anyway,
comments. Thank you.
CPS and Northern Regional Department, I'm going to say this.
But let me tell you
The
something.
police department and
I'm
CPS
suing
came to my
everybody
house like we treat our children bad. They wanted to check on my children. Like CPS came to my house, Mr. Solicitor, because of this.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Fink.
Yeah. Do your job. Do your job.
Hi, I'm Alexander Nave, and I'll try and calm things down a little bit here, although I'm very heated over the situation as well. You keep saying that you can't give us answers, but when are we going to get answers, and from who? Many of us have gone to the principal, we've called the superintendent, we've written letters, and we can't get answers. Can you tell me who we can get answers from and when?
There is an active investigation going on that we cannot comment on until the matters are resolved.
I'm under the impression that that will be over tomorrow. So, well, I know that, yeah, the first one's closed and the other one should be over tomorrow. So can we get answers then?
You should be able to coach tomorrow night, then.
No, I know for a fact that one of them is closed and it is unbound.
Yes.
That was the original that was suspended on.
Once we have information that you're claiming this evening, we will look into and then we'll let you know as soon as we have that information, the next step in the process.
So the next step should be automatic. Suspension should be lifted and he should be returned.
That, again, personnel matter, but in any situation like this, when we're dealing with a public employee, that Mr. Glover is, we look at the information and we make decisions based on the information. To speculate at this point in time would not be appropriate for Mr. Glover or anybody else.
There's no speculation. It's either.
We don't know what the investigation is.
The suspension gets lifted immediately, just like it was enforced immediately.
As I stated-
when he's vindicated,
as I stated-
Or you have no intention of bringing him back.
As I
That's-
stated,
it's very
once we
simple.
get that information, we will take action when that information comes to us.
Well, it should be very simple to answer. Yes, the suspension will be automatically lifted, or no, we're gonna drag our feet and we're gonna do what we wanna do.
Once
So
we get the
there's not
information, we'll
difficult.
make the decision then. Thank you.
Now,
Okay.
what's the decision to be
I-
made?
The decision to be made,
Yes, what is the decision?
obviously, the decision would be made in regard to Mr. Glover's continuation as coach here at the Dover Area School District.
See, that shouldn't be the decision. The decision should be, the suspension should be lifted. It
That could
wasn't
be.
a question of
That could
whether
be.
he's a fit coach or not.
That could be, depending on the information, then we'll make the decision at that point in time.
We just told you that it is unfounded.
I understand what you
There's
told you.
only
I understand.
three
Thank you,
different
and I
things.
appreciate this, but once we get the information, then we will make the determination. We don't have that information at this point in time.
And you didn't even have the legal premise to suspend. Right. According to Childline, you didn't even have the legal means to suspend him.
That's their decision.
He was not accused of doing anything, he was accused of knowing.
Uh,
And in an investigation like that.
Is it Mrs. Coley?
Yes, it's
Mrs. Coley, Ms. Nave has this time now, so if you can let her for.
Oh, you're cutting into my time. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. All right, I just want to say, as a parent, I've been really disappointed with how this whole thing has been handled. You know, to be told on one day that the assistant coach was put on leave of absence, that was very upsetting because nobody was told why. And I understand that when it's, Principal Wassler was very great in explaining to me it was a legal investigation. He couldn't comment. But then the next day, for Coach Kevin to be put on suspension, it was really upsetting for the girls. And anyone who knows basketball in this entire county, all of York County, you just say the name Kevin Glover, Carrie Glover, they're very well known and very respected. You don't get to be, I think they just turned 35, maybe 34. You don't get to be their ages and have the reputations that they have and as well known as they are, and all of the youth that they've worked with over the years. I mean, if he was going to be shady in any way, it would have come out a long time ago. And he's, I'm getting emotional here, but he is a great man, and to see what's been done to him, because people, especially the press, and these horrible articles, they just love to sensationalize what happened with the other coach, and he automatically gets drug into it and made to look bad himself. And then once she was arrested, he should have been brought back, hands down. And most of you probably know that there were 2 more crazy allegations that will soon be done. And that was just disgusting. I feel like whoever did that just wanted to keep on capitalizing on the drama and the sensationalism and drag his name through the mud. And in the beginning, I didn't think, like, with what the other coach did, had nothing to do with race. But I do think that Lisa might have a point, and, you know, Dover has that reputation. I've actually thought, like, someone thought, oh, well, she got fired. Let's just use this and make this up about him. And anybody who knows him knows that it's disgusting, that he would never do anything like that. And for him to have been lost his job now at this point, well, he'll get it back when he's exonerated. It's just very upsetting. And these girls have really tried to come together and keep the season going, but it's been really hard. And I just want to see him come back. And the way that just everything was handled, I just wish that the parents, the team had been sat down and told, you know, explained more, not just, oh, your coach is on suspension, we're not going to tell you why. And unfortunately, with what happened with the other coach, you know, kids are brutal, especially girls, and the rumors that were out there were just disgusting. And, you know, I hope that the press does an article about him when all this is done, and just clears him up completely and talks about all the good things that he has done, because the last article last Friday night was just, it just led to all kinds of speculation. And I've had friends even ask me, like, oh, so the other coach got suspended, did he do something too? And I flat out told them I would stake my life, I would stake my children's life, that no, he didn't do anything. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Lee.
Anybody else for public comment? This will be our last speaker. Our 30-minute period is over.
Hi, my name's Diane Divot. I'm from Lancaster County. That's my nephew that you're talking about. And I just want to let you know
But,
that...
ma'am, you are not a resident of the district.
That's my nephew, man. That's my nephew. You know what you've done to our family behind this bull? You put hurt on all of us, especially him more than any of us, but, you know, we're all one. I don't appreciate what you've done. I too, think it's racial. Hands down, racial. And you're not trying to help him. You're not doing nothing to help him. You know, the girl was accused. He wasn't. He's cleared. You know, do something good for him. That babe right there, I don't like you. Gonna put some stuff in the paper that wasn't good.
Ms. Divot,
But anyhow,
if you
do
could
something good
finish
for my
up, please.
nephew. Do something good for my nephew.
Thank you for your
He's
comments.
suffering right now.
Understand. Thank you for your
No, I don't
comments.
think you do, because he's still out on the street.
And I have one last question. I was also told that the school doesn't have to apologize. And they wouldn't apologize. I would like to see, and when he is exonerated, that the school board put something out of an apology for doing this.
Mrs. Coley, we'll examine everything when we get the information. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
I am Gary and Kevin's mother, and I'm not from the district, I'm from New York City. But I've had a lot of sleepless nights lately because what you have done to my son, it is not right. I don't raise my kids like that. They're not like that. They have a passion, they love these kids, they do what they do with these kids. You are totally dead wrong. That is not my child. And he's being very, very humble in all this. But you know what, y'all suck.
When that band teacher did what they did, how come everybody in the school district didn't get fired or suspended over that? How many kids did he molest? It was a white man that did it, right?
See the
You
difference?
got nothing to say about that.
Come on,
Get away from
And he sure is the music teacher from a couple years ago.
Oh. Oh gosh, this is nothing. Yep.
We have one more that'd like to speak, and she's a resident of the district.
I believe, has the time been up, Mr. President?
30 minutes are up.
Okay,
But
there is
I will
another
allow
public
this-
comment period at the end of the
I will
meeting.
allow one last person to speak.
Okay, one last person?
I will allow one last person to speak, and then this is it. Are you her mother? Okay. I need both of your names for the record then, please.
All right, so.
Can you state your name for the, so we
Oh,
get it for the minutes,
Elena
please? Thank you.
Reaver. So, I'm directly in one of the accusations, and Coach Kev, he knew nothing about anything. He's literally the most amazing man. And I promise you, if you take him off as coaching, I will never play again. He's done everything for me. He expanded my game. Honestly, I look at him like a dad. I can't even imagine. Most of this is my fault, I know, but he's done nothing wrong, and I can't stress to you how good of a person he is, and he'd sit in here and he would not say a single bad thing about any of you, even though you did this to him. He's literally, I can't stress enough how good of a person he is. And I guarantee you all the girls in here would say the exact same thing, even the ones that hate him. He's done nothing but helped everyone, and I will stop playing. I will never play again. My dream is to go to college to play basketball, but I won't. Not if you take him off this, because he does not deserve this at all.
Elena's played basketball since she was in first grade. She has played AAU since she was in sixth grade. She was on the same AAU team for 5 years. And it was Kevin coming to Dover that made her take a leap of faith and leave her team and teammates that she had played with for 5 solid years and take her game and trust it in his hands. And it has gone leaps and bounds from what it was prior to, or with her prior team. I have met with you. I have met with Rich. And I have told all of you, he never knew a single ounce of any of it. Phone calls was all that we knew. Never was there anything ever inappropriate that any of us knew. And if there was, I would have been the one on your doorstep, not him. And I can assure you of that. And this is a very good rendition of what's going to happen if he loses his position here. Because there's going to be not just Dover, there's going to be an entire county that's in an uproar. It's like I said to you at your table when I met with you at the school. I hope and pray when this is done, the right decision is made. Because you have done nothing but defaced his character. And it is disgusting. And I'm living it in my house. The one that should have been fired, I'm living it in my house day in and day out. As if the situation wasn't bad enough, the last thing she needs on her is to lose the coach for all of her teammates and all of the community because of it. Kevin deserves to come back. And that's the last thing I have to say about it.
Thank you.
Move forward.
I'd like to call for a brief executive session if we could.
My computer's
That was his sign, right? Or is that your sign?
That's what Dominic said, that's his.
Okay, we'll move on in our agenda now. Next on our agenda tonight is the board president's communication. Tonight we did have 2 executive sessions, one prior to the meeting to address personnel and legal matters, and then we just obviously had another session to address additional personnel and legal matters. So with that, I will move on into the agenda. For our committee reports, we had a combined committee meeting and our regular board meeting tonight due to Tuesday's meeting being canceled. So first, I would like to have the reports from our Comprehensive Planning and Curriculum and Professional Development Committee this evening. So that would be Mrs. Maley, Mr. DeLauder, and Mrs. Herman.
Actually, Mr. Benton's going to report for us.
Mr. Benton's going to report. Okay, Mr. Benton.
Tonight's agenda, there was only one item on the agenda. It was our district chapter 339 guidance plan. Our guidance counselors gave their presentation to the committee. They will in February be giving a presentation to the entire board before you vote on our 339 plan. Just a couple of snippets from that presentation. One, this has been about a 20-month process to put together a K-12 comprehensive guidance plan on the 3 pillars of academic, personal, social, and career. It brought everything together for us in our guidance system where it's now vertical aligned throughout the district. It's probably the first time our whole guidance plan has been vertically aligned. The other main thing is it has actually started to bridge with the community, having community input into it, and also taking at data, looking at how they can each year better serve their students with the data collected from their lessons, from other activities that they're doing with their students. And it is a fluent document. The Chapter 339 is a state law, so we have to have this. This is going to be an integral part to the new Future Ready Index that you're going to be learning more about in the next couple months that's coming down from the state. Do you have any questions? Everyone should have a copy that you can look through for the next month. If you have any questions, you can email any of the guidance counselors or you can email me, and I can help facilitate any questions that you may have.
Just a comment on that is, as we know, No Child Left Behind is gone, and Department of Education just approved Pennsylvania's Every Student Succeeds Act, our plan, and the 339 plan is a very big part of that. So we will be educating you more on that because it does change the focus of public education quite a bit. So we'll be giving you more information, and that's why this plan is so important.
Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benton. Next will be facilities and safe and supportive schools combined. So that's Mr. Rawhauser, Mr. Emig, and Mr. Deschaux.
We had 2 things brought up today. One of them was a 1962 graduate from Dover High School is asking that if we do a new building, that we would think about possibly putting in a veteran memorial. And it was tossed around that there's a good chance that we could get funding from other places to help with that. So just talk about how we would do it, and that's really about it. The other item was if we do approve on building the new high school, that in the large group instruction classroom in the front of the building, it was suggested that we move the board meetings to the new high school. Because the room itself it's almost double the size of what we have here. So we can fit more people, and it would bring the community to the building. They can interact with it, so it was a suggestion. I'm done now.
Any questions for Mr. Deschaux? Okay, next is Human and Fiscal Resources, Mr. Cook and Mrs. Brinton.
We had talked about the policy 610 purchases subject to bid. Every year, there's new guidelines in terms of dollars related to bidding of services. When there's bids that come into play, there's certain thresholds that require certain actions on the school's part and how to secure those types of services. For 2018, the new threshold for requiring a competitive bid on bidding type jobs or bidding type services is $20,100, and the new minimum threshold, $10,900, would require 3 responsible bids, but not necessarily competitive bids. So that's a policy we have in place, and every year the numbers get tweaked a little bit. So do we have to actually vote to?
Yeah, it'll come to vote at the February meeting.
Okay. And then we also had a discussion with Mr. Phillips, which he shared with the full board here tonight as well, kind of briefing us with what he was going to talk about in reference to the Act 34 questioning and that sort of thing. So, miss anything? Nate?
I think you covered it. Any questions for Mr. Cook? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. So, now I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the revised minutes of the November 14th, 2017 board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko?
Apologize, I hit the wrong button. Those computer literate people. There you go.
The motion carries. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the November 16th, 2017 board planning meeting.
No move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko? Motion carries. And next, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the December 5th, 2017 board reorganization meeting.
So move.
We have 2 motions, now we have a second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko?
Can I have a verbal vote for that? The motion is not showing up.
You want to do a roll call?
You can just, everyone in favor.
Everyone in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
We'll simplify it there. Okay, next is our consent agenda. As we've done in the past, we'll go down through the categories first for any questions or discussion on any of the items. I did want to note that one of the items under the Human and Fiscal Resources category, resignations, has been pulled, and that will be a separate vote in tonight's meeting. So if we could start with the Curriculum and Professional Development category, are there any questions or discussion related to any of the items in that category?
We had talked, I think, back in November about the studies, program studies for the high school. I know there was some discussion there about driver's education. I was just wondering where we were at with that, if we could maybe get an update before we vote on that.
So after that conversation, you had asked for some feedback, so we took it to our Parent Advisory Council when we met again. And we actually spent probably about 25 minutes having a conversation about the different options. And by the time we completed that conversation, the group we were talking with, at least that parent representative group, felt that our best option, particularly looking at the need for health careers in the courses, was to continue to eliminate the driver's ed option. And we elected at that point to offer both the online option for students and then also explore the after-school option I had shared with you guys before. Still allowing us to offer that course to students at a mitigated cost for our students that want to take it. Still a very low cost for that course. But we need to, as especially we've completed, in front of you actually have what we have is called the Academic Planning Guide. That is a document designed for every student to walk through to plan their academic career. And if you look at the recommended course sequences, one of the hardest things is that when you see health, you'll see it's the only thing that has no courses beyond the freshman year. Because while we have a number of kids that want to go into health-related fields, whether it be athletic training, nursing, medical, after Health 1, 45 days, we've got 0 options. And so by doing this move, that allows our department to look at their resources for a year, and then they have a lot of courses sitting ready to go, but we then want to take what we know with resources from a human side and spend the year investigating what courses we could start to put in place to further develop that line. So after talking to our parents, they felt that was our best option, particularly since the health-related fields are the fastest growing in our building, and probably the course area we have the least amount to support our students.
Thank you.
Any other questions in this category? Okay. Hearing none, Human and Fiscal Resources. Any questions or discussion on any items there? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to the Safe and Supportive Schools category. Anything with that? Okay, hearing none, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve all items listed under the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
One thing I did want to mention, I failed to do so when we were going through the individual items. There was several donations that were part of the Human and Fiscal Resources Committee. We had talked some time back about the school lunches, and there was a family that wanted to help some kids in that situation, and kudos to them. Just wanted to publicly thank them for making that donation to help others in need. So that was a really generous thing to do.
Anything else? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko? The motion carries. As I had mentioned, we had removed resignations so that they were a separate vote for tonight. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resignations listed in tonight's agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I will be abstaining from this vote due to a family member being one of the resignations on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Anybody else? Okay, Mrs. Benko? And the motion carries. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the resignation and agreement and general release for Darlene Freeman, grade 6 teacher at Waglestown Elementary.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko? And the motion carries. Next up, we have a few more committee items to address. So we have the Capital Improvement Steering Committee. I do not have anything additional to discuss on this. I mean, we've had the Act 34 hearing and some presentations tonight. Mr. DeShoto, do you have anything else to add? Okay. Dover Eagle Foundation, we do have a meeting coming up. I can't recall the date. Do you happen to know? In early February with the various organizations within the district that provide valuable support of the district, such as the Eagle Foundation, Dollars for Scholars, the Alumni Association, talking about greater partnerships between those organizations. So we'll have more to report at our February meeting on that. York Adams Academy, Ms. Dremick is not with us tonight. Is there anybody else that has anything to report out on York Adams Academy? Okay, with that, we'll go on to York County School of Technology, Mr. DeLauder.
I have no reports or comments, as our last meeting there was the same as our meeting here, so I was unable to attend that. But you do also have the budget for their 2018-2019 school year. Would you like me to make that?
Sure.
As a motion?
Sure.
At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve the York County School of Technology general operating budget for the 2018-2019 school year.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Benko? And the motion carries. Next up is LIU Special Education. Mr. Deschaux, Mrs. Kroom, Mrs. Benko.
I am one of 4 new directors that was appointed this month. We will be voting on the LIU general operation budget on the 6th, and we'll have it to the districts by the 7th for approval. And that's all I have.
And I know you were very excited to find out that you get paid for that position in the form of mileage to New Oxford and back.
Yes, yes.
Any other questions or discussion on that?
I just want to add the IU is forming a focus group to focus on their processes and procedures they have in place and going forward where they want to move to. They have asked business managers, special ed directors, assistant superintendents, and superintendents if they would like to volunteer for that group. I believe Mrs. Kroom and Ms. Geyer are going to attend the focus group on the 13th.
Anything else? Hearing none, we'll move on to legislative with Mr. Rawhauser.
Nothing to report.
Okay. PSBA, Mrs. Brinton.
Nothing to report other than just waiting for the governor's budget address in a few weeks here, and I'm sure things will get interesting from there.
Thank you. Dover Industrial Development Committee, Mrs. Herman.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Superintendent's report, Mrs. Kroom.
It's been a tough couple weeks with the weather, and, we've lost a lot of athletic events and field trips and things like that. So we're recouping that, and we're kind of getting back on track, which we're all very glad to do. I'd also like to report that myself and Pat have worked with the ELA department, K to 6 this year, and some 7th and 8th grade, and we are hoping to bring you an English language arts curriculum this summer. So we've worked a lot with the teachers, and now we're kind of deciding on the format we want. So that's very exciting, and that's going to roll out how we update all the rest of the curriculum. And finally, if you remember, last year you approved MAP, the assessment for the students. Well, we just did our 2nd assessment in December and January, and we're seeing some very nice gains with the students. So we haven't used it enough yet to see how that will translate into state assessments, but we're having a lot of data meetings and conversations, and teachers are truly looking at their instructional strategies and interventions for kids. So it's worked very well for us. So hopefully we will see some nice upticks in our data. Okay.
Any other questions for Mrs. Kroom? Okay, next is our miscellaneous category for any other comments or observations from our board members.
Yes, I was disappointed in the letter that we sent out to the public, the timeline we gave for when it started, that we did not get it out by the 20th of December. And that we did not put the people's names on that we sent them to. We just sent to resident. I mean, I get advertisements with my name on it. I just thought it was public courtesy that we'd have put their names on. And I received some comments about that we couldn't even put their names on the newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rollhauser. Anybody else?
I just want to make a comment to Mrs. Kroom. These last week or two with the weather events, I just got to tell you, I know that they had to be tough decisions, and I certainly would not want to make that decision, because no matter what decision you make, I think it was going to be the wrong decision. But I do appreciate the amount of time and thought that was put into that, and knowing that you were looking out for the best interest of our students. So I appreciate that, and would never want to be in your shoes for that.
Well, I do want to share. I do cheat a little bit because I have a team. Miss Jen and Dave are hugely helpful. We all have our roles, and Brad. So it is a consensus that, you know, when we do make the decision. But I have a wonderful team around me too, as well. But yeah, it was tough. A lot of sleepless nights there.
Anybody else?
I wanted to mention too, it's mid-January here, just thinking back a month, and we haven't really met to discuss anything, but during the month of December, all of the different schools had their concerts or holiday concerts, and having the opportunity to go and see a lot of those concerts in person, it was a really neat thing throughout the whole district. And to see the way they were attended, there were huge opportunities for the public to come out and see what's going on and get inside the school and see that. Many of those concerts were nearly standing room only, so it was really a neat thing that we have, that and athletics and things like that bring our public out and gives them a chance to come inside the buildings and see what's going on. They're great opportunities that, you know, if you wouldn't have those opportunities, you really wouldn't know what's going on. So kudos to all the kids and the staff that performed. There's a lot of work that goes into that, and they were very enjoyable.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to add one thing. I want to thank Mrs. Kroom and Dr. Maloney for the recognition earlier tonight. That's certainly much appreciated. I will say this is probably one of the worst paying, most challenging jobs I have ever had in my life, but it's also a incredibly rewarding job to be able to have an impact on our school district. But the directors here could not do our jobs without all of you sitting back there. This administrative team is just wonderful. The support that you provide to Mrs. Kroom and others just makes our jobs a lot more easy up here. So thank you, too, for all that you do for us in this district. We do appreciate that. And thank you to my fellow directors for your service. I appreciate that as well. So, and Mr. Pratt, thank you to you, too, for your service to our district. So, with that, we'll move on to our last public comment period. This is a 2-minute period for items on or off the agenda. So if anybody else would like to make a comment, they may come to the microphones and state name and address for the record. Okay, seeing nobody on the move, we will move into our future meeting announcements. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, February 20th. That is our board action meeting at 7:00 p.m. And then on Thursday, February 22nd, we will have our board committee meetings at 6 p.m. and our board planning meeting at 7 p.m. So if there are no other questions or discussions for tonight, I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, yes?
Yes.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.